I just love AI text to image generators, don't you? The power of the right prompts, the descriptors, and what the AI algorithms can do with the info is beyond amazing. Today I'm going to show you Dall-E, Leonardo, Midjourney, and Stable Diffusion. So if you're new to text to images or just want to have a look at some tools, we're going to show you three scenarios today: a portrait of a human face, a landscape design, and a fantasy scenario. These are all beginner stages. These tools at this stage are all free to use and many have trial periods, so feel free to play around. If you enjoy this, please like and subscribe. Comment if you want a tutorial on creating your own Dall-E server. And additionally, if you want a no hardware install of Stable Diffusion, see one of my other videos. Let's get into it. Alright, so straight into it. So just to get you up to speed, I've got my AI tools open. So firstly, we've got Midjourney. It's set up in my own private bot. If you want to see a video on how to do that, go to the link. I've also got Leonardo. You can sign up for that free of charge and you get 150 free credits. Stable Diffusion, this is the collab version, running Stable Diffusion 1.5, and I've also got 2 on here if you'd like to see how to install that, also free of charge with no hardware. Check out the description in the link. And then I set up my own Dall-E server as well, as the web version doesn't requires you to buy credits. I've managed to get around that. If you'd like to find out how to get around the Dall-E server credits and licensing, hit me up and write a comment and I'll show you exactly how to do it. So what we're going to do today is run a couple of commands and see exactly which tool interprets our commands correctly and which tool basically produces an output of a high quality. So I put in the first prompt over here as a girl, portrait of SKS woman, and some basic prompt characteristics that I like to use for most of my prompts. Feel free to change this up, but again, as you can see over here, the Midjourney has created 4 pictures and all looking pretty decent. Again, if you'd like to figure out how to do more with this, have a look at one of my other videos in terms of creating character consistency and also how to use prompts. Alright, so that looks quite good. Alright, the exact same prompt in Leonardo, and because Leonardo has got a couple of elements of Stable Diffusion in it, it's got a negative prompt as well. I'd encourage you to put in the negative prompt, and what we can do over here is we can have a look at this image that's been created. So also a pretty decent image here, quite a lot of facial detail and quite sort of matte, and interpreted the matte skin quite well. All right, now let's go have a look at Stable Diffusion. So the same image over here, or the same prompt with the same negative, and as you can see over here, here is the image, and it is a matte skin, but looks like this eye is a little bit funky. So we'll have to probably tweak and play around with some of the settings in Stable Diffusion, but all relatively decent. And let's have a look at Dall-E. All right, so same prompt, and hit the submit button, and here is the image that's been created. All right, as you can see, a couple of flaws. Looks like there's a bit of a booger on her nose, on her ear. Her eyes a bit funky. Eyebrows sort of missing over here, or kind of weirdly positioned. So again, not overly great from Dall-E first off. All right, so let's try a couple more prompts. So let's go into some landscape prompts. So landscape is always quite a good one if you wanted to sort of put an image out there or create something that you would like to superimpose a person on. So we'll do a utopian jungle, intense rainfall, and hit the enter button on Midjourney. Let's go to Leonardo, and let's remove, we can leave that as is. Stable Diffusion, leave that as is, and in Dall-E, and hit the submit button over there, hit the generate button over there, hit the generate button over there, and we'll basically come to see what these things now create. So again, what we're doing is we're doing one portrait picture to see the quality of a human being, which I think is quite a difficult thing and quite intricate on all levels, actually, to get the proportions right, to get the texture right, to get the details correct. And then looking at something a bit more landscapey, and then finally we'll move on to something a bit more fantasy oriented. So I think all pretty decent scenarios. Right, so Midjourney has created something over here, and Leonardo's created something, Stable Diff has created something, and Dall-E has created something. Alright, so as we can see over here, Midjourney has come up with a pretty decent depiction of our brief. Utopian jungle, and it definitely shows the utopian side, especially with these funny canopy trees. Those all look pretty decent. Vines all around, and definitely sort of meets the brief over there. So that's looking pretty decent. Leonardo, let's have a quick look at this one over here. So quite an eerie sort of picture over here. Definitely some vines, definitely utopian, very sort of light and dreamy. Alright, Stable Diffusion. This looks quite photorealistic actually. So a little bit of a creek over here, some really tall trees, some really bright vivid colors over here. So that looks pretty decent. I'm quite impressed with the Stable Diffusion version here. And Dall-E. Alright, so exactly the same prompt, and it has produced something that doesn't actually look like much. So Dall-E at this stage looks like it's losing the battle. Possibly my prompting, but prompt for prompt and ease of prompt, I think we're obviously looking to see the trend here. Alright, fantasy. Alright, so let's pop in a fantasy type of prompt. These are always fun, and it's basically testing the creative side of the engines. And I've written this prompt in a way to, I wouldn't say mimic Stable Diffusion, but let's pop it in and see what it looks like. And we'll pop it into Leonardo, and let's do the negative prompt as well. Let's close that off, and let's do the same for Stable Diffusion. All right, and Dall-E, we'll paste that in. All right, so let's hit submit on Dall-E. Let's do submit on Stable Diff. Let's hit generate on Leonardo, and let's see what this comes out to in Midjourney. Alright, so Midjourney has come up with a fantasy type object or fantasy type setting, and as you can see over here, kind of weird sort of details on the face, a couple of holes, a couple of weird looking things over here. And again, pretty decent. So like if you did want sort of something dystopian or something that would spark interest in your video or your image, this looks pretty decent. Leonardo. Okay, so this over here looks quite interesting. So it's now got additional detail around the face, got some good sort of texture around the moustache, and some very sort of detailed, intricate sort of look and feel about this character that's been created over here. Proportions all look pretty decent, so that looks quite good. Let's look at Stable Diff. Alright, so Stable Diff has created a fantasy type image over here. This over here looks a bit weird. The eyes look a bit strange. So again, probably just need to tweak the positive prompts, negative prompts, and see what we can do there. It might even just be the sampling method that we can try and play around with. So let's try this one over here and hit generate. And then Dall-E. All right, so Dall-E has not really done what I would like it to do. I think let's try a different prompt over here for this fantasy type. So let's try and do a imagine a fantasy image of a female in a utopian world with a cyberpunk background. Alright, so let's try this one over here and see what that does. So I think the other two have created, the other three have created some pretty decent images. So let's just create that. Let's go to here. Alright, and Dall-E. Let's see if Dall-E enjoys these types of inputs a bit more. So we'll hit submit on all of these. And let's have a quick squiz. Alright, so here is Leonardo. And again, quite a good sort of understanding of it with cyberpunk. And some great detail on the outfit, hair, and some cool things in her hair as well. So that's quite cool. I like that. Definitely fantasy. Midjourney. All right. So this over here is looking really good. And again, nice details, nice bright and vivid outputs. Very minimal inputs from my side, as you saw on the prompt. So these all look quite eye-catching, if you use that as a term. All right. Stable Diff. So here's the Stable Diffusion version of the fantasy image. Alright, so let's have a quick look at it. And as you can see, it's got a pretty cool background. The upscaled image looks pretty detailed and intricate. The face is a little bit weird. Funky eyes. But again, I think the background is definitely looking a bit more cyberpunky. All right, great. So moving on. All right, so here is here is Dall-E, and again, Dall-E has completely missed the point. I'm not sure what that is. Right, there you have it. So for tools, text to image, and obviously different qualities per tool. I found that the landscape from Stable Diffusion worked really well. The fantasy from Midjourney was quite good. Leonardo was great for the portrait and gave a good detailed description and output of that. Dall-E, in my mind, I think it needs a bit more work. I think there's a few things that it's not quite getting right in terms of quality. And yeah, hopefully you find this video useful. So again, not one tool for every job. I think use the right tool for the right job, depending on what you want to use, and have a play around. Happy AIing, everybody. Thank you.